All right. May 1st, 2015 meeting of the Anne Arundel County Council is now in session. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Pruski, mic's yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to introduce Father Mark Bialik from Resurrection Catholic Church in Laurel to lead us in prayer today. Father.
May we bow our heads in prayer. Gracious and loving God, we ask your blessing upon the proceedings this morning. We pray that your presence might be with us, that you open up our hearts, our minds, and our souls to the good of all, that we might serve your people to the best of our ability, that we might have foremost in our conscience the welfare of all people, our fellow brothers and sisters, our fellow citizens. We pray that through our deliberations and address this morning, that we might truly bear in mind that we do your work. And as the budget is presented this morning, may we truly keep open hearts and open minds to do your will. For we ask all these things in your name, through peace and justice. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome this morning to the County Executive's budget address. We have with us a few elected officials in the audience that I would like to recognize. At this time, we have State Senator Ed Riley with us. Senator, thank you for being here. We have two of my delegates from District 33. Delegate Mike Malone is here this morning. And Delegate Sid Saab. We also have with us the Sheriff, Ron Bateman. From District 31, Delegate Nick Kipke. And we also have Mayor Mike Pantelides from the City of Annapolis. Did I miss anyone? I do not believe so. Okay, great. It's my pleasure to introduce the County Executive, Stephen R. Shue.
Thank you and good morning. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the Council, thank you for having me today to your chamber, and thank everyone who has joined us today for being present. Would any veterans who are here this morning please rise? Thank you for your service to our country. Let me also acknowledge the special guests who have joined us today from Anne Arundel County Sheriff Ron Bateman, Community College President Dawn Lindsay, from the City of Annapolis, Mayor Mike Pantelides, from our school system, Board President Stacy Korbelak, and representatives from the Superintendent's Office. Dr. Arlotto could not be here today, but I would like to thank him for his continued partnership. From the House of Delegates, my former colleagues, Pam Beidel, Mike Malone, Seth Howard, Minority Leader Nick Kipke, and Sid Saab, and from our State Senate, Senator Ed DeGrange. Thank all of you for your leadership of our county and state. And finally, thank you to John Hammond and his budget team for the great job they did in pulling together this budget. It is an incredible amount of work. When I was growing up, Anne Arundel County was a rural backwater. But in the last 4 decades, that's changed. Our county has grown in population and economic activity and is now home to the state's most critical assets, including Fort Meade, NSA, BWI, Thurgood Marshall International Airport, the largest gaming floor in the United States Naval Academy, our state capital, and 550 miles of shoreline. Our people, our economy, and the presence of so many critical statewide assets have brought Anne Arundel County to the verge of statewide leadership in Maryland. The budget I am presenting to you today will put our county on a course to become the best place to live, work, and start a business in Maryland, and will help lead our state to a brighter future. Let me begin with a brief overview of the operating and capital budgets. Our total general fund budget features a 3% cut in property taxes and a fiscally responsible rate of growth of only 1.7%, one of the slowest rates of growth in county history. Importantly, the cost of county government as a share of household incomes will fall under this budget. Thanks to our growing economy, we will still be able to offer county employees 2 to 3% mid-year pay increases and to add 30 additional public safety personnel. And we will fund an all-out assault on heroin. Our capital budget will make critical investments in education, public safety, the environment, and quality of life, including funds for Crofton High School. At long last. A health professions building at the community college, replacement libraries in Annapolis and Rivera Beach in Pasadena, a police academy and central booking facility, a vigorous waterway improvement program, and programs to expand our network of parks, boat ramps, and bike trails. This budget will accelerate our county's progress by implementing the 5-point plan so many of you have heard me outline before. Reduce taxes and fees to make it easier to live here and start a business here. Improve our system of public education so that every child gets a great education. Enhance public safety to assure that every citizen's properties and families are safe. Reform county government so that services are delivered promptly and cost effectively. And protect our most important natural asset by cleaning up the waterways. This budget asks the Council to reduce the overall burden of government on taxpayers while making unprecedented investments in our public schools, our system of public safety, and our waterways. Let me begin with tax relief. Our citizens need tax relief now. Maryland is the 4th most taxed state in the United States, behind only New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey. We are more taxed than Massachusetts and California. And Anne Arundel County is the 9th most taxed county in the state of Maryland. Our taxes are higher than those of Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Prince George's County. We are a high-tax county in a high-tax state. And the tax burden is increasing. The cost of county government per household has increased from $4,700 in 2008 to nearly $6,000 today. As a share of family budgets, the cost of county government has increased from 5.5% 9 years ago to 6.6% of family budgets today. Local government is taking too big a bite out of family budgets. Property taxes are a major contributor to this increasing burden of government. Despite the property tax revenue cap that we think protects us, property tax bills have increased at an average annual rate of 4% over the last 10 years. The next time someone tells you that the tax cap is severely limiting property tax revenue to county government, let that person know that all new residential and business development is excluded from the cap. As a result, property tax revenues grow consistently faster than the rate of inflation in our county. Not surprisingly, based on the recent community college poll, taxes now rank as the #1 concern of county residents. 25% of residents of this county regard overtaxation as the #1 issue we face. And that's why reducing taxes is my #1 priority. Our citizens should not have to struggle unnecessarily to live here, to start a business here, or to create jobs here. Our budget will accelerate economic growth by implementing a $19 million, 3% property tax cut that will reverse the tide of ever-increasing property tax bills. This rate reduction is a modest, measured solution to a growing problem. And this is a real cut. Under our plan, the rate will fall to 90.8 cents per $100 of appraised value, which is 3% below the rate allowed by the property tax revenue cap. That is an actual $19 million benefit to taxpayers next year and every year thereafter. Thank you. This tax cut is affordable. We estimate an increase in funds available next year before the impact of the tax cut of about $62 million. Our tax cut returns about 30% of that increase to taxpayers, leaving $43 million to cover increasing costs and other priorities. But this isn't just about dollars and cents, it's about people and jobs. I've spoken with countless families throughout our county struggling to make it. Some are older residents living on Social Security or on a pension. The savings they would see from this plan could help them with that extra prescription cost, dinner out with the family, or even gifts for the grandchildren. Others are small business owners who could use the extra capital to reinvest in their businesses and create jobs. This $19 million tax cut will put more money in people's pockets and in their businesses. We can help them here and now. This tax cut is a small but important step in moving our county in a new direction. While other counties are raising taxes, we are cutting them. Let's turn now to education. This budget makes strategic investments to improve an already strong school system. We are blessed to have more than 5,700 highly dedicated teachers, a student-teacher ratio of 4.5 to 1, 18 Maryland Blue Ribbon schools, 13 national Blue Ribbon schools, and an 88% college matriculation rate. We have a lot to be proud of with our school system. But at the same time, we face challenges. We have an achievement gap where students of different racial backgrounds demonstrate different levels of achievement. And we have disparities among schools where schools in different parts of the county have very different academic outcomes. This is unacceptable. Every child, regardless of his or her race or neighborhood, deserves to get the same great education. And we face a problem of overly large high schools. Anne Arundel County high schools have among the largest average enrollment in the United States. Our schools average 1,850 students, and many of our schools have over 2,000 students. The average high school enrollment in the United States is only about 750 students. We've not built an incrementally new high school since 1982. 1982. As a result, our high schools are the largest in the entire state of Maryland. Academic research confirms that overly large high schools exhibit a plethora of problems, including student anonymity, children become just numbers, lower academic achievement, fewer extracurricular opportunities. Whether a school has 700 students or 2,000 students, there's still only one football team and one marching band. It's just that many more kids going home with nothing to do. Long commutes, more behavioral problems, and a less desirable work environment for our educators. Race, neighborhood, school size should not be impediments to our children's educations. And I urge the school board to adopt a policy establishing guidelines for maximum school size in our county, just as many other Maryland counties have done. This budget helps address these various issues by supporting the school system's operating and capital needs and begins the long-term effort to build smaller neighborhood high schools in our county. Our budget includes $78 million for the long-awaited and much-needed Crofton High School. Hear, hear. Now, of course, any decision to move forward with Crofton High School will be up to the Board of Education and will be informed by the results of the MGT study currently underway. Our intention today is just to make it clear that we will make the funds available should the school board choose to move forward. And I do look forward to working with our school board and Superintendent Arlotto to make this school a reality. We've also included $75 million to begin the process of replacing the old mill complex with 2 middle schools and 2 neighborhood high schools. And our operating budget includes the funds needed to support a 1% full year or 2% mid-year pay increase for our educators. Overall, the county's operating support for our public schools will increase by $12 million to $615 million. The county will provide 57% of the school system's total operating funds in 2016 on a direct basis and 51%, and 51% of our total budget. Our capital budget will ensure that we have excellent facilities for our students. 8 schools will be in the design or construction phases in fiscal 2016, including Arnold, Benfield, High Point, Jessup, Manor View, Rolling Knolls, and West Annapolis Elementary Schools, as well as Severna Park High School. Now, let's turn our attention to the big kids and talk about our best in the nation community college. Anne Arundel Community College is an institution that serves over 50,000 students annually with top-notch healthcare and cyber programs, among many other outstanding programs. But like our pre-K through 12 system, the community college faces challenges. Reduced state aid, inadequate laboratory facilities, and a breakdown of its historic funding model threaten to slow the progress of this great institution. Traditionally, the cost of a community college education was shared 1/3 by the county, 1/3 by the state, and 1/3 by student tuition and fees. But that funding model has collapsed. Today, the state is only covering 26% of the cost of a community college education, and students are bearing 41%. This is unsustainable. We will strengthen our community college by increasing operating funding to offset state reductions, providing capital funds for new building construction, and working with the state delegation to restore the historical funding model. Operating support for the community college will increase by $750,000 to about $37 million, representing an increase of more than 2%. The county will provide 34% of the college's total operating funds next year. And the new $85 million Florestano Health Professions building will help train the next generation of healthcare providers. Finally, enhancing our overall system of education requires that we address the challenges facing our wonderful library system. We are fortunate to have a strong network of 15 libraries that offer top-notch technology and educational programming to our citizens. But we face a growing challenge common to any growing county, a need to strengthen facilities and to assure that every citizen has access to a neighborhood library. Only 7 of our 15 libraries are serviceable for the long run. 8 will require replacement or refurbishment over the next decade. Furthermore, our existing network of libraries provides good service to most of the county. However, the network has significant gaps in service. Many communities in the central spine of the county and in South County are not currently served by a neighborhood library. Everyone in our county pays for our library system, and everyone deserves access to it without the inconvenience of having to drive long distances. More importantly, libraries are an indispensable component of our educational system, and every child in our county needs a library nearby. Yay. Our budget will provide capital funds to begin to replace Annapolis and Rivera Beach libraries and to begin planning for a network expansion that will enable every citizen to have access to a neighborhood library. We need to embrace a new vision that brings our library system closer to those whom it serves. My hope is to work with the library board to develop a plan to expand service to Crownsville, Davidsonville, Wason's Corner, Harwood, Galesville, Lothian, Millersville, Shadyside, and Woodwardville. Overall, county operating funds to support the library system will increase by $195,000 to about $19 million, an increase of 1.1%. The county will provide more than 83% of the library system's total operating funds next year. For Anne Arundel County to be the best place to live, work, and start a business in the state of Maryland, we have to be the safest place to live, work, and start a business in the state of Maryland. Now, Anne Arundel County is a safe place. We have very low rates of crime and calls for fire service as compared to other large central Maryland counties. But our county is facing increasing public safety challenges, including gangs, unserved warrants, increasing calls for fires and emergency transport, and growing drug abuse. Outstanding arrest warrants have increased 16% since 2012. There are now over 9,200 lawbreakers on the streets who must be brought to justice. Fire department calls for service have increased 9% over the last 5 years, putting additional strain on an already overburdened fire department. And we are currently experiencing an overdose a day, nearly an overdose a day, and a fatality a week from heroin. Our budget will strengthen public safety through increased staffing and investments in our public safety infrastructure. We've allocated funding for 24 additional uniformed police personnel, 2 sheriff's deputies, and 4 additional personnel in the Office of the State's Attorney. We are also funding a 3% mid-year pay increase for all public safety personnel. Our capital budget will provide funds for a new police academy. This long overdue $11 million project will give our police force a training environment worthy of the dedicated officers that protect our community. We will also be creating a $6 million central booking facility and allocating $8 million for 182 new public safety vehicles. All these investments will make our county safer, stronger, and better equipped to handle the challenges of this new century. Now, let me take this opportunity to acknowledge the bravery and heroism of Corporal Larry Adams, who almost lost his life 2 weeks ago by intervening in an attempted robbery, and the men and women of our police and fire departments who have been providing assistance to the city of Baltimore during the recent riots. I am very proud of each and every one of them. Advancing our county also means ensuring that local government is always focused on our customer, the citizens of Anne Arundel County. We are fortunate to have a highly skilled and dedicated corps of county employees, but they are impeded in their work by bureaucratic red tape, inefficient operations, and outdated technology. Citizens expect county services to be delivered quickly, cost-effectively, and courteously. In an effort to improve communications across departments, we've reorganized county government into 5 core groups that meet regularly to solve problems and address constituent issues. In our budget, we are emphasizing the importance of efficiency with a hiring freeze and a reduction in departmental operating expenses. These actions have resulted in $4 million in aggregate savings in fiscal year 2016, and we are returning those savings to the taxpayer as part of our tax cut. We are also making major investments in technology. To hold the line on expenses, we're keeping headcount flat with the exception of public safety. Working together, we will make county government more responsive, more efficient, more innovative, and more effective. Let's turn our attention to the environment. Our budget is designed to effect a major improvement in water quality in our county. The Chesapeake Bay and its tributaries are the basis of our economy, the focus of our recreation, and the basis of our very identity as a people. With over 550 miles of shoreline, we are the stewards of the bay. But our waterways face challenges: older, poorly designed development, 127 miles of aging and malfunctioning stormwater pipes, over 1,000 failing culverts and outfalls, and 123 miles of eroded creeks. With this budget, Anne Arundel County will lead the way in bay cleanup. Our capital budget includes $70 million to support critical projects, including 1.5 miles of storm water pipe repairs, over 300 outfall projects, 74 storm water pond retrofits, and 9 miles of stream restorations. These efforts will be concentrated on our most challenged waterways, including the Patapsco watershed, which includes Marley, Furnace, and Stony Creeks, where we will be pursuing 25 projects funded at $24 million. The Magathie watershed, where we'll be implementing 13 projects funded at $22 million. And in the South River watershed, where we will be conducting 14 projects funded at $15 million. I believe these investments will make measurable and substantial improvements in water quality over the next decade, breathing new life into our waterways and jump-starting ecological activity in the bay. Now, this is a budget that does more than invest in the 5-point plan of my administration. The budget we're proposing goes further by making strategic investments that will improve the quality of life in this county. One of the great challenges we face as a growing community is assuring that we have a well-maintained road network. Currently, our roads are in poor condition. 8% of the roads are substandard, and we have a $125 million maintenance backlog in roads. And due to underspending on maintenance, the roads are getting worse every year. To address this challenge, my budget will increase road maintenance to $26 million, which will prevent further deterioration of the system. And we will work with the state delegation and the Hogan administration to restore much-needed state support for road maintenance. To support a growing form of transportation and recreation in our county, this budget will also make investments in our network of bike trails. Our budget includes funding for a 40-mile expansion of our trail system and, most excitingly, for a bridge over Route 2 linking the B&A and Broadneck trails. These investments will move us closer to the long-term goal of a fully integrated, connected network of bike trails. I want our county to be a place where one of our citizens can bike from BWI to Sandy Point to Shadyside with ease and in safety. I'm also pleased to announce the formation of a bike commission that will advise the county on achieving that very goal. Another Anne Arundel County pastime is boating. There are 34,000 registered boats in Anne Arundel County, 14,000 of which are trailered, more than in any other jurisdiction in Maryland. And yet, we have only one county-owned boat ramp. Yes, you heard that correctly, one boat ramp. Our capital plan changes that by launching a program to develop 7 or 8 additional county-owned boat ramps over the next several years. Our goal is to ensure boat access from the north and south shores of every major river in the county. I want our county to be a place where a family can boat up and down one of our majestic rivers with ease, creating memories and special moments along the way. We also need to invest in our outstanding network of regional and community parks and recreational facilities. Right now, our system includes over 150 parks and natural areas, including 3 regional parks, and provides athletic and recreational program opportunities to nearly 400,000 county residents. But like our library system, we continue to have underserved areas in the county, particularly in the South County and West County areas. My budget addresses this shortcoming by initiating a South County Regional Park, a Millersville Tennis Center, and a West County Regional Park. Each of these projects will ensure a park system that is accessible to all our citizens. All these investments in schools, parks, libraries, roads will strengthen our county and pave the way toward a brighter future. But one major threat can undo all this good work: heroin. Heroin is Anne Arundel County's #1 public safety, health, and educational challenge. Its tentacles reach into every aspect of human existence. Heroin is the octopus from hell, and this budget seeks to send it right back to the depths from which it came. I want to take this opportunity to thank Speaker Bush and Lieutenant Governor Rutherford for their leadership on this crucial issue. To combat heroin, we will be making strategic investments in education, health, and public safety to fight this problem from every conceivable angle. We're working with the school board to revise the curriculum, raise awareness, and train educators in early identification and intervention. Our health department is expanding treatment options, including $800,000 for a new substance abuse treatment center. We are increasing community grant funding by 33% for substance abuse providers. And our public safety departments and offices will increase staffing focused on narcotics trafficking and prosecution. The budget funds the expanded use of Narcan and prioritization of drug-related warrants. As I've said many times, we will not win this battle overnight, but I believe this budget will help stem the tide. To summarize, thank you. To summarize the overall budget, the general fund will increase by only 1.7% to $1.37 billion. This is among the slowest rates of growth in county history. The cost of local government to Anne Arundel County residents will fall in dollar terms from $5,858 to $5,850 per household, a slight but real reduction. Significantly, as a share of household budgets, the cost of county government will fall from 6.65% to 6.55%. This is a small but important change in the direction of local government in our county. This budget reduces the size of county government. Many of the investments I've outlined this morning are intended to jumpstart our county's infrastructure. Our current $120 million general obligation bond program is just not getting the job done. We face a $2 billion school construction backlog, a $200 million infrastructure backlog, a deteriorating transportation network, and a lack of funding for quality of life projects. We have these problems because we're growing. We're a vibrant county. That is a good thing. But doing nothing to provide adequate infrastructure is not. We need to accelerate our investments in ourselves by building more schools, roads, public safety facilities, parks, and libraries. To accomplish these objectives, we need to embrace a financing option that is utilized by more municipalities than any other, and that is 30-year bonds. This reform will allow us to increase capital spending by $150 million over the next 6 years without increasing our annual debt service. 30-year bonds are the most common type of municipal bonds. 34% of all bonds issued carry a 30-year term. And all 3 rating agencies reaffirmed their ratings after being briefed on our new 30-year bond strategy. 30-year bonds will facilitate critical capital improvement projects, including Crofton High School, our road stabilization effort, Rivera Beach Library, a central booking facility, our boat ramp and bike trail initiatives, and the West and South County regional parks. Jumpstarting our capital program is about more than just dollars and cents or bricks and mortar. The return on investment is, by embarking on this program, is substantial and real, but it is measured in human capital. Think about it. If you're a job creator or a working family with a promising future, and you can choose between a congested county with giant schools and substandard roads, parks, and bike trails, or one with smooth roads, neighborhood schools, beautiful parks, and connected bike trails, which would you choose? I think the choice is clear. Our county is on the verge of becoming the best place to live, work, and start a business in Maryland. This budget supports that vision, and I ask for the County Council and the citizens of Anne Arundel County to support this plan. Thank you, and God bless. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
So what was your reaction to the budget? What did you
I'm
think?
very, very pleasantly pleased. I think everything, the additions that we have asked for and have waited for a long, long time are finally coming to fruition. In addition to that, it's not going to cost us anything because the cost per household in the tax area is going down, and that's a wonderful relief. I've been retired now for 25 years. I was in the Air Force for 20 and worked at NSA for 21 years, and I'm kind of on a fixed income. And I'm very happy to be able to do this. And I've worked very, very hard in our community over in Maryland City, in the western part of Anne Arundel County. And there are things that we really have needed and have wanted. And I think this is a step in the right direction.
Is there any one thing you were looking for or listening for in the budget?
Well, two things. I think police protection is very, very eminent, and also the fire protection. I think we're getting police. I would like to have more for fire, as the stats indicated that more and more calls are being done, and I think we really need that to augment both the people that are first responders in both the fire and police department.
So, Councilman Grasso, what did you think of the speech?
I'm excited. It's a very good budget. I believe it hits all categories of all the districts of Anne Arundel County and the needs of the people.
Was there anything in particular you were looking for, you were hoping to see in there that you did or didn't see?
Not particularly. I believe, one of the things, I think Marley Creek is already in there as one of the projects for dredging. I'm pretty sure that was already in there. Yeah, so it didn't need to be mentioned in there. But I think it hit pretty much all the categories for all the districts. Everybody got a little piece of the pie, and it looks like a good budget.
What did you think of there were maps thrown up about the vision for libraries, boat ramps, and hiking trails. I believe it's been at least 10 years or so since we've built any one of those three things.
Well, it's like anything.
Except Smallwood Park.
Yeah, it's the thing that always has me in question sometimes is that we're a society that we want it now. And the question is, are we willing to pay for it because we want it now? If you look at the society, people are very happy with charge cards. And in return for those charge cards, they pay phenomenal interest because they can't wait for something when they should afford it. So we got to ask ourselves that kind of question. We're moving, to do the projects that we want to go from a 20-year bond to a 30-year bond. That's similar to a charge card. And the people have got to ask themselves, do they want it now, or are they willing to foot the bill for the additional interest that it's going to cost the county to do that? In return, they get these services, but we're going to pay a substantial amount of additional fees for that.
But to be fair, isn't it more like a mortgage than a credit card? Because, we're not changing the interest rate. We're not getting this high interest rate credit card. We're just extending the term and paying the same amount every year for a longer period of time. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah, it's very much the same. In myself being in the real estate business, you got to kind of look and say to yourself, okay, if you can afford to go a 15-year mortgage, you are going to save a substantial amount of interest as compared to a 30-year mortgage. Right. And yeah, it is exactly like that, going from a 20-year to a 30-year. The savings is the interest. The question is, are the people willing to forego that interest savings, staying on the trajectory that we're going on? And basically, yeah, we're really substantially underfunded at this point. And if you want these nice things, then you got to be willing to either put up more money in taxes, or you got to be willing to expand the bonds. And then, of course, the downside is that you're going to be paying that additional interest. I've always, in my real estate business, I've always been focused. I always focus on a 30-year, but always prepay it to a 15-year. Because what happens is, if things go bad, if you're locked in with a 15-year mortgage and things go bad, you're still stuck with that substantial mortgage payment. But if you have a 30-year mortgage, you'll pay a little bit higher interest on a 30-year mortgage, but you can prepay that mortgage while things are good for you, and then thus reduce it to a 15-year mortgage by prepaying it.
So we could do 30 years and pay it off faster?
Yes, you could. I'm guessing there's a possibility, and that I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting to find out from Hammond because I don't know if it works that way on bonds if you can prepay. Yeah. Can you prepay bonds off fast? In other words,
we have a 10-year call on our bonds, so we can call them after 10 years, yeah. And we do that all the time when we refund them.
Got it.
Refinance when rates go lower.
So you can go, we can spread out on a 30, and if we have a substantial amount of influx of cash, we can.
Could always do that. That's certainly an option, but we're always looking at market interest rates, and we can refund just like you can refund your mortgage if rates
Drop.
And we just did that on this last bond sale. We had about $50 or $60 million of refunding in that. So we do it all the time.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond.
Good to see you.
Thank you for joining us.
Look forward to working with you during the month of May.
You got it, buddy. That's great when somebody can just walk by and just kind of answer that question.
See?
Unstaged.
That's right. So tell us what happens now. What does the council do? What happens for the next week? How can people get involved?
Well, it's like everything else. The council is going to have all the departments that are going to come in front of the side, and I believe it's. I'm not sure if it's the operating side or their capital budget side that comes down first, and we go through each department and then see what their expenses are. We look at their employees to see if they're increasing, decreasing, and then if there's an increase, we ask why. County executive made it really clear that it's a flat line as far as employees, that they're not hiring. It doesn't look like anybody else other than safety people. And so that shouldn't even be a question at that point.
And so how long does this take until you guys approve the budget? It's a month, is that right?
Yeah, it's about a month time. About a month time, yeah. It's every day, come down here, 9 o'clock we start, and depending on the departments and how much we have, we go through each department line by line, and people ask questions and move along. Sometimes it moves fast, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's the same stuff as it was last year, and remember the exact same stuff, so it's something you flip a light switch on. It's very quick moving.
Thank you for being on with us.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Bob, could you tell us just your general reaction to the budget speech today?
Well, we've been working with the county executive since he's come in office. He's been very collaborative with us. Certainly the fact that it's a maintenance of effort budget for us, not a surprise. Disappointing, but not a surprise. We need to change the conversation, we think, about how we fund education in this county, and that's a conversation that will continue. The good thing for us is that there is a conversation. And as I said, the county executive has been very collaborative. We're going to be able to do some of what we wanted in the operating budget. The capital budget is very good for us. Almost every project that we included in our capital budget was funded, so that's good. The Crofton project and the Old Mill project are outside of our capital budget. They're in the county budget. The good thing about that is that they were able to be funded without taking money away from existing projects within our capital budget. Certainly, we would have preferred that the MGT study had been finished first, but we'll continue conversations about that.
And I mean, I think the general public, they were listening the most for the school construction, obviously with Old Mill and Crofton. And if I may say so, I think the reason they're in there is to start a planning process going. So it's going to be an effort.
As we undertook the MGT study, first time in 10 years, of course, and to come up with a new priority list. And so that involves the county executive and the county council and the board and the superintendent. So once that comes back, then we'll see where everything sort of falls out. That study is going to take into account school size. We know what's the ideal school size for county schools, which certainly is a big issue for the county executive. That's no surprise to anybody. And how we fund those things moving forward.
And I would guess that the teachers were happy to see there's a raise. I'm sure they wanted more, but there's a raise.
Yeah, you'd have to ask the teachers about what their opinion is. I mean, our issue is that we're growing. Almost 2,000 kids by next September, over a year and a half ago, and so how we fund the different things that we're trying to do and how we expand things like magnet programs and those kind of things, that gets difficult. And certainly we're hopefully on the end of a tight fiscal swing here. I know the county executive has said that, and so we'll hope for the best moving forward.
Great, thank you for talking with us.
You're welcome.
Paul, tell us what your reaction was to the budget.
I thought it was very ambitious. I thought that, it seems to be off on a good start. Whether you can deliver, it's all in the debate. But I think it's very positive. And where it was positive was on planning for the future. If we don't begin to plan for the future, we really won't have anything to pass on to the next generation. And I was really focusing on the public access part for waterways. I believe it's a huge issue. The county has miles and miles of waterways. Many of them are all impacted. They all suffer from pretty much the similar things. And one of the things that is the Magothy River Association has been working on in the last 3 or 4 years is the idea of public access. And we feel that the more people I can get out on that river, the more people that will use that river, the more people that will enjoy that river, the more people will support programs to restore and protect the rivers.
Thank you. I was going to ask you that. What was I going to say? Oh, one thing I noticed when we were putting together the budget, libraries, boat ramps, hiking trails, those are things that, other than the Fort Smallwood Park, we haven't built any of those things in over 10 years.
Well, those are when it comes to libraries and boat ramps and bike trails in particular, you want to encourage good behavior and good life skills. And riding a bike is one of those things that provides exercise. It gets people out. And one of the things I've noticed, I have biked up and down the B&A bike trail all the way to Arundel Airport, BWI. But what I find terribly lacking is when you get down to the southern part of the bike trail, it sort of ends. So we need to continue that. I think it's a great idea to be able to bike from one side of the county to the other side of the county, and it just will make the county more connected.
Great. Well, thank you for talking with us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I like the tie. I see you're coordinated here.
Yes, we inherited over 200 T-shirts from the 2000 movement to get a high school, where they actually got into the budget list back then, and then they were taken off. But those 200 T-shirts showed up on our doorstep when we started this, and they were purple, and we decided it's probably cheaper just to go with purple, use those T-shirts for the next 5 to 10 years it takes us to try to convince the county that we need this high school. And look at here, 3 years later, we're talking at Crofton High School.
Give us a brief history of how long this issue has been talked about and what's been developing over the years with Crofton.
Well, I think it started in 1968 when they basically told a lot of residents that were moving to this new development called Crofton, this new community, that, hey, we're going to be getting you a high school. And here we are in 2015. Many different groups from Crofton community leaders have fought in the past for Crofton High School, and we're probably the 4th generation of fighters. And we are, working nonstop to do it. And we have a great team that works really hard together. And we've pulled every number from the state, from the county, from the AACPS and the Board of Education to show them that, hey, look, from 1996 to 2011, your average increase in enrollments was 299 students per year over 15 years. From 2011 to 2014, that's risen to 1,072 enrollments per year. So 1,072 is a Steve Shoe-sized high school each year raised in enrollments. So, and with all those students, we don't have the capacity at our high schools right now to fit them all. So we need to start building high schools. We need to start building a couple new elementary schools, and there's going to be a middle school or two that we're going to have to build. So it's a big agenda for the county if we're going to stay a prosperous county.
Well, I'm sure the folks out in Crofton appreciate all the time and effort you put into this, and they certainly will when you have a groundbreaking someday.
Yes. In fact, our celebration will be the day that the school doors open. As we saw with Severna Park, groundbreaking doesn't necessarily mean building. So we will be fighting, and we are beaming with the smiles this week for seeing the Crofton High School with their name up there. But until it gets funded, until the Board of Education and the superintendent have it in their budget and the county council funds it, it doesn't happen until they dig the dirt and they build the building. And then, that's the day we celebrate. We pop the champagne corks. So.
Well, thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And thank Steve Hsu for doing all this.